Hi, KL Wells here. Glad to have you join us today. And really, what I wanted to talk about was just to kind of check in and find out, given all that swirls around this disease of addiction and alcoholism, where are you right now? Are you in crisis? Are you in struggling? Are you in surviving? Or are you in thriving? And one of the ways that I kind of check myself around that is I use the chart with that's embedded in the program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about if you're in crisis, this is where you are right now. So crisis is a place of I can't survive this. It's disabling, distress, loss of function, panic attacks, nightmares or flashbacks. You're unable to sleep or fall asleep. There's intrusive thoughts. Anytime the phone rings, you're thinking, is this the phone call? Or is this my son, daughter, spouse, or whoever is the addict in my life calling? They've been in an accident. They want money. They need rescuing. Just that hypervigilance when the phone rings. So thoughts of self-harm or suicide, obviously, if you have any thoughts along those lines, please call the suicide hotline or get a hold of a counselor, reach out to a therapist, certainly call a friend or somebody who loves you and find somebody to talk to because this is temporary and this can be worked with and worked on to get you into a different place with dealing with this disease. You are easily enraged or aggressive, which means you are really at the edge of your ability to manage yourself. And so many reasons for that to be happening. When we are massively stressed and we're not taking really good care of ourselves, that's kind of the go-to. And so not sleeping well, not eating well, not getting exercise, not taking time for yourself, only being in activities that revolve around saving the person that we love who is the addict or the alcoholic. All of our life force energy is going towards fixing them or saving them, which means we are depleting ourselves. And so we're making careless mistakes, inability to focus. So your mind just can't stay with something. It's very almost monkey mindish. You keep jumping around because your brain is in stress and it causes that inability to focus. If you are feeling numb, lost, or out of control, you're in crisis. If you have withdrawn from relationships, you are in crisis. If you have withdrawn because of shame or judgment or the stigma of the disease of addiction or alcoholism, you are absolutely in crisis. And what we know to be true is that our ability to reach out to one person who cares about us and loves us and is not going to bring judgment or shame or anything but love for us and letting them know that's all you need. You just need them to hold the space for you, to talk it out, to love you, to sit with you. They don't even have to say anything except for, I care. Please, 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 if you have isolated up, reach out to others. And then finally, if you yourself are in fact using substances, food, or other numbing activities to cope, like social media addiction, shopping addiction, sex addiction, any other thing that is absorbing your life. And actually, we get addicted to fixing our loved ones. That tends to kind of take over our lives as the obsession that we're in. That is an addictive behavior or an obsession. So that's when you're in crisis. So any of those apply to you, that's where you are right now. And so I think about this in terms of when I was in crisis, I wanted to handle myself being in crisis and move to the next level or the next couple levels. And the next level is struggling. So struggling means I can't keep up with this. I'm in overwhelm. So there's a persistent fear, panic, anxiety, anger, pervasive sadness, and hopelessness. And I remember many times where there would just be this underlying sadness and unease about worrying about my son. Was he going to live or die? Would I be getting the next phone call? And those kinds of things. There were moments when I did lose hope, and I say moments. They were momentary, and as soon as I felt that, I changed it because I am eternally an optimistic, hopeful person, and so I did the things that I knew I needed to do in order to change that hopelessness. I got on the phone with my best friend. I went for a walk out in nature. I took a bath and just was with myself. I got present in the moment with gratitude. 90, all of us as humans are running between 75 and 85,000 thoughts a day. The vast majority of those thoughts are in the past or in the future. And in this disease, we get caught in thinking about the things that have happened with our loved one, all the things that they've done, or all the things that we've done, or the situation in and of itself, or we get caught in thinking into the future and worrying about the future, worrying if they're going to live or die or have a heart attack or stroke or have car accident, kill somebody, all the things that kind of go along with the potentiality of this disease. And it does not serve us and it does not serve the situation. And so that is just you running on stress overload constantly, which is just tearing you down. So exhaustion comes from that, poor performance, difficulty making decisions or concentrating, avoiding interaction with coworkers, family, and friends. So this is the struggling part. And you're up a little bit from crisis and you're still dealing with some of these things. Fatigue, aches, and pains. You're restless in terms of your sleep, disturbed in terms of your sleep. You at least can get some sleep. It's just not super restful sleep. And then again, you're self-medicating with substances, food, or other numbing activities. And in crisis, there's a dependency on those things in order to be able to just be in your own skin around this. In struggling, you're self-medicating so you can come and go from it. So the next level up is surviving, which is something isn't right. I'm just kind of barely hanging on, and I'm looking to survive. And again, all of this is very stress induced and in our brainstem. And so surviving looks like this: nervousness, sadness, increased mood fluctuations. You kind of go back and forth between happy, sad, all the things. Inconsistent performance. You're more easily overwhelmed or irritated. You have an increased need for control and difficulty adjusting to changes. And I know that when I am stressed, and one of my things is to get control of the situation, to try and control what my son might do, what my wife might do, control people's thinking about this disease. And that is, again, not helpful whatsoever. So trouble sleeping or eating, surviving again, activities and relationships you used to enjoy seem less interesting or even stressful. So paying attention, where's your joy? Are you having any joy? Are you having any happiness? Are you tapping into fun? Are you listening to great music? So surviving also looks like muscle tension, low energy, and potentially headaches. So what I would say is those three, crisis, struggling, surviving, are still massively in the stress areas, which is the brainstem of our brain. And we're still kind of awash in cortisol and the stress hormones as a way of being, which absolutely will deteriorate us and lead to sickness and illness and potentially accidents because we're not focused, we're not concentrating, we're not eating well, we're not sleeping well. So many things could potentially go wrong for us. And I remember early in this disease when there were a couple of crisis moments that took place, and I was intentional about this is where I am at this moment. This is not where I want to stay. And my idea was to move in the direction of and consistently reside in the place of thriving, which I can say I've done a pretty good job. And now almost 6 years in to this, and my son has relapsed recently and is now back in treatment 5 weeks. What I can say is, I got this. I got myself in this. I am calm more of the time than not. I'm steady. I have minor mood fluctuations. I do not have these pendulum swings of my mood. I'm consistent in my performance. I run 3 companies, and I have a great teams, and I have awesome people that I get to work with. And I am routinely able to show up in terms of my performance day in, day out, because I am doing the things that I know I need to do in order to maintain my energy, my happy, my creativity, my confidence, my love of my life and my family and my friends. And it is a work in progress, and it takes consistent, intentional work in order to stay in the thriving. And so I'm able to take feedback and able to adjust my plans with the changes that I hear. I'm able to focus. I'm able to communicate effectively. And if I'm not on this podcast, please let me know. And my sleeping and eating patterns are really just right on target. There was a time not too long ago, about 5-6 weeks ago, when we found out my son had relapsed. And there was a moment when I thought, I don't really need to eat dinner tonight. And as soon as that thought went through my head, I was like, oh, there's a little bit of stress. Okay. So I made sure I ate, because I know the things that absolutely are critically important, mission critical for me to stay in thriving and to be the best version of me, so that when Sam popped out the other side and was at the door front, hopefully, of going back into treatment, that I could be strong when he asked me for money. I could be strong on the verge of his homelessness. I could be strong on not knowing what was going to happen with him, not knowing what decisions he was going to make. I could be strong knowing that my ability to say no to him was my ability to say, I love you. And to do that with grace and a calm and an ease and a knowing, like really knowing in my bones that that was the best decision. That was the best way to approach this most recent relapse with my son. And so as I talk about thriving, we're up here in the neocortex, which is where gratitude resides, where empathy resides, where curiosity, joyful creativity, where calm resides. That's where I'm able to access my ability to look at every situation that comes up, no matter how challenging or traumatic it might be, and say, okay, what are the gifts and lessons embedded in this moment? And be curious about it, and to want to explore it as an opportunity to grow, to stretch. I've said repeatedly that my son is my greatest teacher, because he gives me those opportunities to stretch in terms of thinking. Okay, what are the gifts and lessons embedded in this most recent relapse? I get to practice my skills again. I get to reach for a higher skill set. I get to take a different program of learning, read a different book. I get to expand my perspective and on this disease and myself in it, and learn to operate at a higher level. I get to practice loving him in the midst of his unfolding and his own journey, as ugly as it might look. And so I have set an intention for myself that the thriving place, the calm place, the happy place, the place of gratitude, the place of inspired, the place of optimism, the place of focused, the place of energized, enthusiastic, playful, hopeful, joyful. I get to reside in those spaces because that's generally who I am, and that's who I want to be consistently. I want to be an expression of the best version of myself, no matter what's happening around me. And I do have those moments. The difference is recognize when those moments take place. I recognize when a sad thought shows up, or a traumatic thought shows up, or my brain thinks about something that happened previously, or my brain pops forward to what might possibly happen to my son in the future. And I stop it. And I close my eyes. I take some breaths. I pay attention to what's happening with my body. I pay attention to potentially turning on some great music, turning on a very quick YouTube that is inspirational to me, calling a friend real quick and just saying, I need to check in with you at this moment. I'm having a emotionally fragile moment. I term them as moments. I do not give emotions a whole day from that perspective. I'm not going to give my day away. I'm not going to give my week away to trauma and drama and stress and overwhelm and discouragement and exhaustion and fatigue and depressed. That is absolutely not on the radar for me. So being aware of where you are, what you're thinking, super, super important, because as a thought goes through your mind or a feeling, kind of gets your attention, take a pause. Take a pause and see, okay, where am I right now? Am I in an anxious place? Am I in a depressed place? Am I in a grateful place? Am I able to help myself shift from the worry of the future to the joy of the present? Are you able to help yourself shift from the worry of the future to the joy of the present? That's my challenge to you, to me, to those I work with that deal with this disease. You have more agency and more power over yourself, your thoughts, your behaviors, and your emotions than the vast majority of people give themselves credit for. You can bring yourself back to joy. You can bring yourself back to creativity, to fun, to happy, to energized, to being present with those that you love, to being inspired, to being surprised in a delightful way, to being loving. You're the only one who can do this for yourself. To be at ease and in the flow of calm and joy and presence and peacefulness and contentment. These are all choices that we get to make. So that's my challenge to you today. What choices are you making? Are you routinely kind of tapping in and being aware? This is what I'm thinking right now. This is how I'm behaving right now. This is how I'm feeling right now. And in the midst of this disease, certainly if you're in crisis, struggling or surviving at this point, I would encourage you to be aware, be aware, be aware of your thoughts, your behaviors, your feelings. and pause. Pause, 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 so you can make a different decision that's going to serve you at a much higher level. So I hope some of this has been helpful for you today. My my hope for all that listen to this podcast or this training is that you realize that you are so powerful, and your loved one who is in addiction mode or alcoholism mode needs the best version of you to aim towards, to move towards, and to be present for them when they come out the other side. So, love you and wish you the best. Strive for thriving. Take care.